This is Terry Escobar at Santa Clara University, and you are watching Excel, Examples of Absolute Addressing and Mixed Cell References. In this spreadsheet, we have two examples. One is where you have a department budget, and you've been promised a 6% increase over the course of the next 4 years. The second example in this spreadsheet is a department budget where you know that perhaps you're going down in your budget for 1 year, running flat, and then going back up. Let's tackle example 1 first. In example 1, you have been told that you have a 6% increase to your department budget over the next 4 years. So in 2011, you spent or had this much money, and then in 2012 you'll get 6% more, etc., etc., etc. So you can see in this file I've given you a hint because some people like to calculate the original amount plus the original amount multiplied by the percent that they're going to have an increase, and some people just like to take the original amount multiplied by 1 plus the percentage increase. I'm going to do the second one. So in this particular case, we're going to, for the male category, have an increase of 6% in 2012. So equals the original $1,000 in C4 multiplied by, and then those parentheses, 1 plus the absolute value of D1. So I'm going to hit function key 4, F4, that shortcut key. So it is a relative cell reference to C4 multiplied by 1 plus the absolute value in D1. Of course, this gives us $1,060 for the second year. And when we autofill that across and double check our formula, we can see that it's moving relatively for the column reference from C4 to D4, and then it's staying absolute for D1. In the next example, 2014, we see that it's moved from column D to column E reference, that relative cell reference, and then it's still referencing $D, $1. So what can we do? We can autofill this down and then just double check a few of the vertical formulas. So indeed, the original reference that was C4 is now C8 because we've moved from mail down to books. When we double check another one, C4 is now C11 because we've moved from mail down to miscellaneous expenses. But no matter where we check, the absolute value to D1 remains. You might be wondering why I didn't copy that formula all the way down to my totals row. Well, let's look at the first total here. This total says it's equal sum C4 through C11. It's very important for my reader that I keep all of my horizontal formulas consistent. So I want my reader to be able to double click or look at the formula in C12, and then when that same reader is on a formula in F12, I want it to be consistent for them. So very important to have consistency. So that's a 6% increase over 4 years, the same amount of increase each year. In scenario 2, which might be a little more realistic, you know that the market has gone soft next year, so that's a 3% decrease. Then you're planning to run flat with a 0% increase. Then you're hoping it gradually goes back up, 2% increase and a 5% increase. Okay. Again, I've given you a hint of 2 different ways to do it, but let's go ahead and take the example that I did above. Equals the original budget amount for mail multiplied by 1 plus the percentage increase or decrease. Now, in this particular case, I need to make the column D reference relative so that as I copy this formula across, it goes to E, which has the 0, F, which has the 2%, and G, which has the 5%. So I'm going to hit function key 4, F4, once, that's absolute for column and row, twice, absolute for just the row reference, 3 times, just the column reference, 4 times back to a relative cell address. So twice gives me a relative column absolute row. And I will hit enter. Now notice when you hit enter and you don't have a closed parentheses, the system will do it for you. So here we have, for male, next year our budget amount $970 or $30 less than the year prior. Then we're going to run flat, another year of 970, referencing 0%. Then we're going to get a 2% increase, and then we'll get a 5% increase. So again, double click and then escape if you want to double check your formulas. And then we can autofill this down. Double check one of the verticals. So row 21 has remained absolute, whereas column D has moved relatively, which is exactly the mixed cell reference we wanted. And we will do the auto sum for that consistent horizontal math for our reader. Thank you for watching Excel, Examples of Absolute Cell Addressing and Mixed Cell References.